mean, wonderful to see that you're tracking it across so many languages. So I think even just that, the process of how these appeared, you know, the words as they appeared in different languages, I think is great to see side by side equally well when you finally sort of bring it out. I was curious about the word hakikat, you know, which you said is truth in Gujarati, and I'm wondering whether there is a narrative tradition in Gujarati, like there is in Marathi, and which is derived from Perso Arabic forms and so on, of hakikat not necessarily being truth but narrative, which has an implication that it's not a fictional narrative, like it's not an akhyan, but it is not truth itself, but it is a narrative of certain events that are believed to have actually happened. And so in that sense, a lot of biographical narrative, or say narratives of events, yachi tachi hakikat, you know, या युद्धाची हकीकत किंवा या घराण्याची हकीकत, this will be it's one of the terms that is used for history, a historical narrative of some kind. And I'm wondering whether Narmad might also be drawing on that tradition in a sense to say that this is the narrative of my life, rather than an absolutely precise, truthful, accurate, you know, as in the emphasis might be on the narrativization of the life rather than on the truthfulness absolutely of it.
No, that's quite lovely, and I would agree with you. I'm trying to think like Marathi. For instance, in Gujarati also you would say, "Pachi ene akhi hakikat mane sambhadavi." Now, when you say akhi hakikat sambhadavi, it is narrative, but it is also ke akhi sachi baat sambhadavi. So I guess it has both, but I see what you mean. Let me just go back to, I think, Veena's, from what I gather, Veena, so if we are thinking of what language as in the political realm, and language as not only a form of political mobilization, but also as an aid to, what's the word, as an aid to accrue political benefits, or whatever. If we think of that with respect to Gandhi, and if we think of Gandhi with respect to forging a certain articulation, a certain language for what he thinks are essentially mystical experiences, then it seems to me that these are two slightly separate questions, and they are not, to me, one does not occlude the other.
It doesn't, but only to the extent that I think especially in Gandhi, the idea of sort of the possibilities of the political are completely always identified with a regeneration of the spiritual sort of potential, right? So I'm just
I'm not dismissing the thought, and in fact it might be quite interesting that to note that in the initial years when Gandhi and his family lived in South Africa, they are not actually speaking Gujarati. The family teaches itself to speak Gujarati after a while. And then, so in some sense, the proximity to Gujarati, or reclaiming it if you like, or in intimacy with Gujarati as a language of the family, or Gujarati as language of the samudaya, and then later the idea of provincial congresses, the idea of provincial units, sure, they could have all been coterminous with each other. And I'm not saying that the possibility doesn't exist, because it is around this time, before the writing of the autobiography, that his interaction with Jinnah takes place over the Gujarati language, right? And when Jinnah is very irritated because Gandhi finds him not being able to speak Gujarati. So surely, I think all that is, it would be interesting, therefore, to open it up not as two contradictory, but as widen the ambit of language and Gandhi. But I think usually when people kind of pursue the political realm, they leave out the spiritual one, and the spiritual realm is supposed to be above, if you like, the murkiness of the political question. So it would be interesting to kind of keep the two together, if that is what you are pushing towards.
I'm just trying to sort of understand
Yeah, yeah.
how, both these sort of articulations
Yeah. No, and you're right, yeah.
belong to the same,
Right.
same sort
Yeah.
of sensibility and the same personality.
Yeah.
I mean,
But let me come back to the question you wanted me to elaborate on, which is queering the form, the way Gandhi does it, as in the Rupanta, right? So I think all I was trying to say there is that the form of the autobiography, as we understand as a story of the self, or a memoir about one's own life, every now and then it seems that Gandhi is dislodging the practice that we have associated with that form. And those are the examples. I mean, I didn't get a chance to actually go into even 3/4 of the paper. Those are the examples that I'm trying to draw towards in the way Gandhi talks about writing the autobiography. By saying that I wasn't writing it. When did I say I'm planning to write it? Or every now and then saying that મારી પાસે તો કોઈ માળખું નહોતું. I did not even have a structure with me. My antaryami told me that, and wherever my antaryami asked me to go, I went there, and so on. So I am actually, so there is a certain bending of the form, which is what I mean by Rupantar here. Yeah.
Would you say that Gandhi actually is a pioneer in this, or that this effort to displace, the self, or an individual urge to represent oneself to the world and displace it onto a community and so on. This we see a lot in other autobiographies as well. The one that I'll be speaking about tomorrow starts like that. I don't think my life is worthy of an autobiography, but then my friends told me, why don't you write your memoirs instead? So I said, okay, I can do that, and I wrote it. Now it helps that she's a Gandhian, and I can sort of make a connection. But I was wondering how you would want to actually sort of, there is a Rupantar that he does, but do you think he's very influential in the way the form then develops itself, or is it again a very, very unique thing to Gandhi?
If I were to think of like certain other autobiographies, Prachi, like Shandam and Mehta, was also very influenced by Gandhi. But then lot of, as you rightly pointed out, lot of Dalit women writers, for instance, are constant. They are always writing as collectivities. You look at Baby Kamble and so on, they are always writing as collectivities. And I've somewhere in this paper, and also in my earlier book, Uneasy Translations, I've talked about a particular conversation during COVID when, my mother didn't know how to handle all the time she had, but then all the uncertainty, and she's not a highly literate person. She has studied up to 3rd standard. So she kept asking me, what is this Karuna? Almost like it was goddess Karuna that she was referring to by saying that, what is this Karuna goddess that is like? And I remember saying to her that, Mummy, why don't you write something about yourself? And she said to me the next day, she said, I was trying to write the Atam Katha of his and mine. Hinanji and Moinji Atam Katha Malikhampe. And he is my father who's dead. But the idea that an autobiography is only the story of one person is not something she went. So she was saying, Ma Hinanji and Penji Atam Katha Pai Likha. Aporima na likhyo. Then she says that I did not write. And I'm like asking why. She says, I did not want you to think badly about your father. And she said that she's not saying my life is not worthy or anything. She says, let me go back to writing Guruvaji Vani. You know, the satsang she goes to, she writes down all the gems that the Guru gives her, right? About that misery is whatever, part of human predicament or ye wo, jo bhi wo batate honge. So she writes that. So she says to me that, हाँ माँ गुरुजी वाणी खाली लिखा this because it is a safe thing, right? It is this is too much, excessive, it's personal, it involves the father, and she says, माँ हिना जी अमेजी आत्म कथा न लिखा this. Now, so what I'm trying to say is that was Gandhi surely not influencing someone like my mother? I think it is, but I feel like Prachi, that particular we, that inseparability of the genre and the we there is different from this samudaya.
That's
And,
what I
yeah, it's coming from very different places. So no, I would not actually mix it up at all. Yeah, I think one may even think that. One may even actually go on to say that in Gandhi's case, it is only the arrogance of being, that a certain kind of humility is also a humility of the one who can manufacture that humility. So I don't know. I will not mix that up with, yeah.
Rita, I was wondering how the Indian language translations of Gandhi would be had they been translated directly from Gujarati. Because most of them are translated from English, and English, as you said, is so different from the original. So I'm reminded of an essay of Sitamshu Yashaschandra, I think I mentioned this over lunch, where he speaks about a distinct, a kind of dialectic that Gandhi plays with two words, Sudharo and Kudaro. Sudharo is change for the better and Kudaro is change for the worse. And in the English translation, Kudaro is left untranslated, and Sudharo is translated as civilization. Now, this is what goes to most of the regional languages, including Malayalam. No? So, the word used there is Nagarikata. And all the resonance with the West, and this spiritual dimension that you speak about is rather marginal in the Malayalam translation. But it's also interesting how Urdu gets that. So, what are your thoughts on how these translations would have been had they been translated directly from the Gujarati?
I'm trying to think that, for instance, Sudharo, for a moment, if we were to dwell only on that word, which is, so you had the Sudharak Yug in Gujarat, right, in Gujarati literature, and this is before Gandhi, right, the age, what is called the age of reform. And Sudrela are also the upper caste people. Sudrela are also the civilized people, right? So Gandhi, and not just Gandhi, many of his predecessors are also using the word Sudhar with these multiple meanings of people who are better, people who think they are better, right? Or so-called better people, or people who are white, or people who are civilized, or people who are upper caste, people who are Swachh, people who have people have changed themselves. So they are also so I think the entire gamut of aspiration to become like those people, you don't get that in Gandhi at all. Right? So what I think if you don't read Gandhi in Gujarati, then I think you don't get the social Gandhi. You don't get the sociality of Gandhi. For instance, this particular voice, કે મને બે ચાર મિત્રોએ માંગણી કરી ને પછી બહુ આગ્રહ કર્યો ને પછી મને જયરામ દાસે કીધું કે ભાઈ લખી લો, મેં કીધું સારું લખી લઉં છું પણ આમ તો મારે લખવું નથી. You see this tone, Manu? It is the tone of a certain kind of sociality in which the yes and no mean slightly different things. It is not, the truth is not either yes or no. He's not saying he doesn't want to write it, but he's basically saying, maybe you want to press a little more. Or maybe, I can write it, but maybe there is a difference, there might be even playfulness. That Gandhi also doesn't come over. Right? But I think the sociality of that particular voice in which you are speaking with your somebody, you're speaking with your contemporaries, you're speaking with your own kind of people, that voice is not there. So what does that do actually? I think it turns Gandhi into a simpler figure than who he is. I think we all know there are layers, but I think to me the very interesting layer is actually this one. When Gandhi is one, when Gandhi is Gujarati, and I think that layer is not there. And Sudhara also establishes Gandhi in the line of other Sudhara people who have preceded him. And that would have been interesting to see.
No question. That's the question.
Thank you for the section, ma'am. My question is based on the concept of satyagraha. How do you interpret the term satyagraha? In different translations, is it possess the same meaning as in the Gujarati, or each languages will vary, or they will vary according to the geographical area of the according to a particular region? How do you interpret the term satyagraha in your own terms?
I'll be very crisp in my response because I've taken up too much time. My first response to you is that this is also a coined word. Gandhi is coining it. It is not natural to kind of use it in this manner. And really Gandhi was so interested. That's another thing about Gandhi and the relationship with language. He's very interested, constantly forging new words, translating, matching them. So he comes up with a word like satyagraha. But really speaking, it means Pradeep Surud has written a lot about the word satyagraha, and he says it is, what does he say? He says it is a loving something, a loving obedience, I forget what. But it's not a word that existed before. So to that extent, even if other languages don't know what, it should be fine. I think we've all come to understand that word, perhaps in the way the practice was of thinking of satyagraha, right? The insistence to be with truth.
In general, it is considered as a holding perfectly the truth. So I think, I need to know what's your opinion about the truth.
Yeah, I mean, agra is insistence. Yeah.
According to you, it is just a form of desire. Or agra.
Agra
Agraha.
is insistence.
Okay.